Hello, my name is Carson Ramocinski, and today I will be presenting a paper on an EEG-based cognitive fatigue detection system. A brief introduction into this article was that I kind of set out to detect cognitive fatigue because it kind of impacts people's daily lives, and when people are experiences, they can lead to human errors, impacting their decision making, especially during simple tasks like driving, for instance. And so they wanted to be able to detect cognitive fatigue automatically using deep learning models. And this kind of would help to kind of detect early onset of diseases such as Parkinson's disease. And they kind of just want to compare different deep learning models from a simple CNN architecture to an RNN to a specific CNN architecture called EEG-net. And they also wanted to track different methods of inducing cognitive fatigue. And kind of some background on this is in recent years, there's been a lot of studies published that this article was referencing on being able to use EEGs to detect cognitive fatigue. Most of the articles talked about doing it while people are driving or exercising were two of the very common ones. They also wanted to use an N-back task, which is something used in experiments since 1958 to induce cognitive fatigue. And then kind of the core concept of this article was analyzing the EEG-net architecture, which was first proposed in 2018. And in this article, they just mostly focus on testing its performance compared to other models and kind of like seeing how it is able to analyze the input. So the EEG-net and the technical details on how this particular article used it was that it takes EEG data in as an input of size C by T, and it will pass it through a total of 4 layers. 3 of those are convolution layers and 1 fully connected layer. The first convolution has 16 filters, and the second and third convolution layers are 4 filters. And the second and third ones are a depthwise convolution layer and a separable convolution layer. This is done because this is such a small model, and that way you can apply a convolution filter to an entire channel compared to just a regular convolution layer. It also took in each filter was of length 128, which is half of the input data, which was at 256 hertz data being read from the EEG. And for the activation functions, this model used sigmoid activation functions, as well as an atom optimizer with a learning rate eventually at 0.0001. This learning rate started at 0.01, but when it didn't see any improvements after 5 epochs, they would lower the learning rate and continue to do this until it got to the 0.0001. It also utilized batch size of 16 and 100 epochs for their training, as well as cross-entropy loss for the loss function. The results of this experiment was they saw exercise activities, in particular treadmill, whether that was just walking or running, proved to induce the most cognitive fatigue, and also that the EEG-net performed the best of the 4 models they tested this data on. This is probably due to the fact that there was very little training data that they were able to utilize, and the EEG-net was made to work on these small data sets. There's also show that data classifier, they might need more data to learn certain features, and that if they had these, they might have performed better. And this article kind of just concluded on by showing that the EEG-net did perform better with this limited data. The model it used was very small. It only had 2 classes. It was classifying whether someone had cognitive fatigue or it didn't. But it also did raise questions on whether if it had more data, would the EEG-net still be able to perform the best? And they wanted to perform this experiment again with more people participating than the 20 people that they had for the original experiment. It also did show that these small networks are very efficient at reading EEG data, and that you don't need this a very deep model in order to analyze this limited amount of features that it does have. Thank you for listening to the presentation.